Alright, so here is a brief look at PES 2021, the season update. The basically pretty much PES 2020 reskinned with new licenses and that for the new year as Konami work on their next update for PES 2022 or whatever they plan to do with completely redoing the game in the Unreal Engine. It isn't right. One of the it's in some engine anyway. So we shall see how that goes. Now, I have not played PES on PC in 3 years, so this is quite the change to be back to this after a number of years back on the PS4, and just how that game felt as far as. I mean, the major difference is the smoothness of the replays and all that, which is nice to see. Plus, the HDR doesn't look too bad on the PC, so it works out pretty well. So I am using pretty much as much manual control or advanced for through balls as I can. I don't use through balls too often. I usually just go for the manual pass anyway, and that kind of thing. I have noticed a few issues with cursor change being even worse in 2020 from my experience, including where I tried to pass my right winger and I had control of him and I was doing my super cancel to maneuver myself into a decent position to take on the ball, but the cursor then suddenly changed to my center striker for no reason. So, yeah, few issues here and there. Otherwise, it's basically the same as last year. I have not installed any community kits or that kind of thing yet, so this is the bare bones of what you get with PES to start off with. So you've got your Euro 2020 stuff still in the game, seeing as we haven't had that due to COVID and all that. And yeah, so live update in progress. Sure. Okay. So yeah, you've got your Belgian league, Danish, English league with Arsenal and Manchester United again as the two teams involved. No teams in the championship are official from what I can see, right? Yeah, okay. Got your Eats and French leagues. The big change, I suppose, license-wise, would be one of the big changes would be Inter Milan now being Lombardia NA and AC Milan being Milano RN. Now that their rights have disappeared from the PES licenses. No longer partner clubs and that kind of thing. So there is that to think about as we move forward. Eredivisie. It's I think it's pretty much the same as last year. This is not a full scientific analysis of the difference between the two games. It's just a brief look at someone that had a very heavy interest in PES for the first 4 months in 2020 on the PS4 and then kind of slipped away from it a bit. So there is that to deal with. Now we will do a game with Celtic v Rangers. We will set the stadium up for some nighttime rain in the winter. Rainy, there we go. We'll leave it at normal length of grass. And yeah, this strip should be fine there. General settings. So playing on this in Superstar at the moment. I have not unlocked Legendary. Yeah, Legend only becomes available after winning 5 matches in Superstar difficulty. I've won 1 match in Superstar so far. I have not had too much time with the game. So this is very, very early first impressions, but it does basically feel like last year. I'm sure there are some changes here and there, some little tweaks. Getting a few more fouls from the AI. Did not have as much of an issue as other people had with the AI not giving away fouls, especially if I bumped it up to like a 30-minute match or that kind of thing, as I normally would if I was doing, like, say, a season or whatever, seeing as I'm a very conservative, full manual player. But yeah, it is what it is. Screen settings. I will take off the stamina gauge, I think, and leave it all at that. Right. This is also max settings on 4K with HDR on, so it is the most you can get, where the only dips I've seen so far have been the replay at the end of the game where it does the close-up of the ball, where it likes to dip 5 to 10 frames, because I guess they're just hammering so much processing power into making that ball look as good as possible.
Well, stand by, here comes the roller coaster. It is Old Firm Derby Day again, and Glasgow's finest prepare to go head-to-head. It's the match, of course, that fans look for as soon as the fixture list is published, and whilst they might not be so keen to admit it, I think it's fair to say that the same goes for players and managers as well. Anybody, everybody who has played in one, indeed anyone who's been to one, would surely agree that there is nothing quite like this game. Every player out there will do everything he has in front of this roaring crowd to ensure that it is remembered the right way. Derby games such as this do have a reputation for being attritional, of course they do. Footballing quality occasionally takes the back seat, but there have been vintage encounters, and this feels as though it just might measure up as one of those. The anticipation in the stands is palpable, so hold on to your hats and let them at it. Celtic Park doing what Celtic Park does. These Celtic fans really are out on their own. Well, it's a friendly in theory, but we are expecting this to be fiercely contested.
Well, in games of this nature, as a player, Peter, you only want to work as hard as demanded. You don't want to have to go at it full pelt. But when the opposition is what it is, all of that kind of goes out the window. The challenge here will ask more of you, and so both teams will wish to give more than they take. It's one of those games, Peter, where if the opposition increase their effort, you have to follow it.
Strange there was no drop in the frame rate, like I said, like I mentioned there for the end replay at the beginning there. But hey, maybe it's previously that was at the Emirates in full daylight, right? So you know, as you can see, the presentation's basically the same, sounds the same, looks the same, feels relatively the same. Again, there probably are a few tweaks in there for the full scientific mind, but what I would say is first impressions are that if you want some more of PES 2020 and you were happy enough with it, especially if you were happy enough with offline gameplay. I've not tried online gameplay yet on PC to see how that runs, but I'm interested to see how the manual community is on PC compared to what it used to be back when I played the PES 2077. Got Cyberpunk in the brain. PES 2017 or PES 2018, whichever was the last one I played. I think it was 2018, whenever the manual community seemed to die within like a week, or at least I could never find a game. Although that was back before I had gigabit internet, so who knows, maybe with the increase in high quality internet across the world and my own increase of internet, I can get some good games and some good manual games. I do apologise for not having like the best gameplay either. You know, I'm out of practice at playing at the higher levels of the game.
Well, it's obviously a move to push the opposition.
I do play it quite conservative, so it's probably not an exciting thing for YouTube. But you know, as someone who has played pretty much, who has played every PES, love it or hate it since like 2014 now, and was a huge PES fan back in the day. I'm pretty happy with last year's game. I know a lot of people weren't. Save there. A lot of people weren't, which is fair enough. I think my own gameplay style, along with manual gameplay, overcame a lot of the issues. Like I am one to use super cancel a lot, which can help mitigate some of like your own AI defensive problems, and that's my own mistake there for letting him by, and that is some terrible marking. I'm really letting him turn on me. I'm not. Got a little bit of practice to go, I think. Super cancel out.
So far, providing no real test at
do
all
a bit
for
of
the
a
goalkeeper.
nutmeg to go out to the outside. Didn't exactly work. But on PC, it feels solid. I don't have much of an issue with input lag or that kind of thing so far. But this is a fairly new PC build at this point, and it's pretty much immaculate with nothing other than what I need, other than my recording software and the games themselves pretty much hogging up anything or any processing power whatsoever to mitigate any kind of additional lag. I think it looks pretty swell. I mean, it looks good for what PES has been for the last number of years in the Fox engine.
Striding forward,
It's definitely another year where it seems that super cancel is definitely the meta to play if you want to get decent at certain skill moves, especially with doing or not even skill moves, but just like general passage of play.
Goldson.
Interested to see how the game runs in the new engine, if they just develop it to basically run the exact same with a new look to it.
Steve Davis.
Or what any new engine might build up for them to allow to change gameplay-wise or AI-wise, especially as we're coming into the new console era.
Space to get it forward quickly. Finds himself eased off the ball. He wasn't very far from making something.
As far as my own personal tips for the game go, like I got quite decent at a legendary against legendary AI last year, and it's definitely a game where I think it benefits to relax a bit and not like fully go gung ho for passing.
Goal now would certainly liven things up.
Fatigued.
Roof did well to step in there. That was more than necessary.
Steve Davis.
He's had a look.
Looky there. Some of those little scrambles in the box are probably my main pet peeve of how the game works. It feels like the physics just can't handle so much close contact between players at all, and
goes for half-time.
that kind of general stuff off like proper tight battles that you would expect from a more physical league is feels one of the things that PES is the worst at simulating. Get a single shot. Fantastic, exciting stuff.
Celtic head to the dressing room, not yet having broken through. Tight, cagey game.
Some of the free-flowing passing I did get in my first full proper game at after tweaking around my settings and controller settings and all that. Did feel great. It's a game that feels very rewarding whenever you pull things off, especially again as I say in manual mode. But yeah, whatever. I'm not a full manual wanker as far as looking down at people. You know, if you want to play with assists on or passing assists of any level, you know, feel free. This is also default game speed level as well, by the way, in case anyone is interested in knowing that. And yeah, that is not where I expected my attacker to be. I usually turn like even the nameplate off at the bottom as well as like not having a radar on, just because I like the slightly extra immersion. I haven't tweaked my my camera settings either to make it a bit more broadcast worthy, real life broadcast worthy, just because I wanted to show off the default thing. So this is basically full default at this point, other than my own passing settings and that kind of stuff being changed. Also using just an Xbox controller connected via Bluetooth
timely intervention
to my PC, so I don't know how the lag is for that sort of stuff these days, or what the input lag is.
Really getting onto the front foot.
Another thing worth considering. Getting all that info out there as much as possible. Probably should have super cancelled there to keep the balls a bit further away from being entangled in the legs of their defender.
It is still anyone's game, 0-0.
Oh, okay.
It could be in here. Chance! Big relief.
Just need to change, fix my manual aim up. That was definitely a good chance that I would took away in any normal circumstance after a bit of practice. Bit of that super cancel pushing through there, getting around the defender, confusing the eye a bit. Almost feels like a cheat half the time.
Changes then in quick succession. Steve Davis.
I remember the last time I played PES, I had 2 GTX 980s running an SLI. I can't remember if the game ran an SLI as far as stuff went, but I'm pretty. If it didn't, I'm probably tweaked it. But yeah, I just remember a lot of stuttering here and there, especially with recordings, and it didn't work out well. And I'm quite impressed with how the game is running these days. Like, you'd hope it would run well in the 2080 Ti and all that, but. Excited to see the future of gaming on the 3080s and whatever Nvidia can do with Big Navi. Nvidia, sorry, AMD. My brain is slush.
Good challenge. He just stood
Should have got a bit more cross control there, so I could have turned back instead of pushing down with the ball. Bad first touch on my part. Like, it's been a pretty solid game so far. Like, other than that issue with simulating close contact in the box previously, it feels pretty fine. What was that?
shapes to shoot.
We really should have scored. What was that defending on my part? I tapped the tackle button too early, the standing tackle button too early.
He couldn't have set it up any better.
Along with just generally stepping out with my defender. Like, I should have covered him there, but yeah, like that little step out and then tapping the tackle button was a complete mistake.
Rangers making consecutive changes here.
Like, not to criticize anyone, but I often wonder like how many of those mistakes people would have and would blame the game rather than, like, say, their own thumb movement.
Into the last quarter of an hour.
And I'm not a full like PES apologist. I know there are plenty of issues, but still, sometimes you look at things that happen in some videos that people complain about, and it looks like it could be user error as well as just the obvious points where the game just runs badly, or there's issues of making the game run as you would want a free-flowing football game to work. I think if I was going to play Celtic a bit more, I'd need to change my settings a bit to try and keep my front men a bit wider, not be so narrow for how I want to play, or do not change my gameplay style.
Out on the left now. Gets the better of his man.
Isn't such bad marking, not the best, but getting there.
Very good, and so is the commitment. This game could yet yield a winner.
Bit lucky there, but keeping the ball. So run pass.
He gets past his man.
Really should have blasted it in instead of trying to do a ground pass. Could have been a nice opening for a clearance in the middle.
That's it now, but there may be one more opportunity, Peter, for a late steal here.
That's not who I intended to go to, but hey, I'll take it. Terrible cross. Way too much power on it. Just trying to dink it over now for the attacker running through the middle, but didn't work out. Again, you know, like, it's a 10-minute game on Superstar. It feels all right. It feels like something I can work with. It feels like the little issues here and there are fine. It is PES 2020, souped up with probably some tweaks, and it is.
So there it is.
It's fun, and for a game that I did devote a lot of time to, I am quite happy with it, and I will probably look forward to another year of it. I would say it's alright at the price if you didn't play PES 2020, and for it being like, what is it, like 30 euros for the basic price, it's not so bad. Certainly worth waiting for a sale if you're on the fence about it, and if you did hit PES 2020, then I would suggest maybe waiting to see how PES 2022 goes. Look forward to seeing how FIFA runs on the PC and how FIFA plays in general this season, so that'll be nice. Also got through an entire video until the very end before making a crowd joke about COVID, so there's that. Really should have buried that shot. That was terrible composure on my part. Right. PES 4K60 HDR looks decent. One shot and 46% possession. Definitely got a lot of improvement to do.